And he's a legend, and I'm unbelievably excited to welcome to the stage.
In my own mind, a legend.
A legend in your own mind. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Dick Warlock.
Got some sticky candy. He's a good guy. Thank you very much for coming. This is a full house. I'm not used to that, and I'm not used to sitting up here by myself.
I'm with you.
Scared to death.
He's scared, everybody. Make him feel welcome. Dick Warlock.
I have terrible stage fright. I know people say, "Oh, after all, you know."
No.
But I do.
I have to, yeah.
Oh.
No, okay. I did your Q&A a few years back, and it was just and you're like one of my heroes, one of my favorite people that's in behind or in front of the camera, and just the legendary. How did you start doing stunts? How did that start for you?
Well, actually, I started as a kid. I was the crazy guy in the neighborhood in Oakley, Ohio, which was right outside of Cincinnati. And then I moved to California, and through a series of steps, I ended up at a movie ranch where we did the shootouts and the gunfight at the OK Corral and all that. Through that, I met a guy that wrote, produced, and directed a movie called Ballad of a Gunfighter, with some of you people probably remember, and a singer named Marty Robbins. Anyway, yeah, and that was my introduction to the Screen Actors Guild. It was very difficult to get into that, but since he did all that producing and writing, he was able to write me a letter that got me in. Then later on, I met Walt Disney, and Walt took a liking to me, and I stayed at the studio for 10 years. And through that, I met Kurt Russell. And you ask how I became a stunt guy, right? Well, it started at that movie ranch, you know. The reason I hurt so much today is I didn't wear any pads back there. I was a kid, 16 years old, and I'm falling on the ground and hurting myself, and I didn't even realize it. But I'm paying for it now. Anyway, did that answer your question?
It did. It did.
Keep meandering through this.
It's amazing. It's amazing to me. I love the fact that you were like Kurt Russell's personal stunt double.
Personal, very personal.
And I think it's incredible. Is there something we need to get into, Dick? What the hell's going on, man?
No.
So I think it's amazing to go back and like you were even like his stunt double when he was a kid, like when he was making those Disney movies.
Yes, we started with computer wore tennis shoes.
I love that.
And the funny thing is, when I met Mr. Disney, I was called as an extra, and I was in front of a wardrobe configuration. Actually, it was the wardrobe studio or setup at the Disney Studios. And when I walked in, there was a desk and a camera, and Mr. Disney finally showed up. And all I had to do was put on a Yankee uniform. And we rehearsed it as he's talking in the background. Anybody remember The Wonderful World of Color? Okay, it was an introduction to the show, one of those shows. Well, the series name of that particular episode was Willie and the Yank. And who was playing Willie? Kurt Russell. I had no idea I was going to end up being his double for 20 some odd years. And that became a beautiful thing, and I think I've lost track where I was going as my memory's going.
Yeah.
It's just,
no, I was asking you how I mean, because you started out, it's incredible that for that length of time, like when Kurt Russell was a young actor,
yeah,
that you were still his
we celebrated his 18th birthday on our first movie together.
Isn't that, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so, okay, what kind of stunts are in the computer that wore tennis shoes?
Not many. And I didn't do many in that show.
Right.
But I was one of the gang. I was always one of the gang, and there was Skylar and there was Dexter and so on. Any you people remember those days? The computer wore tennis shoes. Now you see them, now you don't. Well, well,
strongest man in the world.
I was one of the guys,
yeah.
And that's what it was. And through that is doubling him developed.
What was it that, I mean, did you and Kurt get along really well? I mean, was that the thing? Did Kurt say, I want this guy to double me?
No, I never liked Kurt. I'm kidding. I mean, he was 17 and I was 27.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, his dad is the one that got us together.
You should tell everybody who his dad is.
Huh?
You should tell everybody who Kurt Russell's dad
Well,
is.
Kurt Russell's daddy is Bing Russell,
Bing.
and he's an actor as well. He was in a lot of those Dexter Riley movies too. And when when Kurt played Elvis, any of you ever seen that movie with him playing Elvis? Well, the guy that played his daddy, Vernon, was Bing,
Yeah.
Kurt's dad. So that was kind of cool. But Kurt, he said to Kurt, "You got to get this guy in your contract because your mom and I, can't tell the difference between you and him on screen." You know, which I thought was a beautiful thing because anybody I've ever doubled, whether it was Joe Flynn, you know, Captain Binghamton from McHale's Navy,
Joe
or
Flynn, you were his stunt double?
yeah,
That's fantastic.
yeah. I doubled Helen Hayes. They doubled Michelle Lee. I had a
Please
career
keep
of
going,
double-
please.
Yeah.
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 Wow. Helen Hayes? What kind of stunt did Helen Hayes have to do?
Well, when we did Herbie Rides Again, Helen Hayes was in the movie. She was the star, and I drove Herbie. And blind driving, I was her. And not when I was blind driving, but I drove Herbie a lot blind driving. Does that make any sense to you? I'm hiding in the back seat, and I got a monitor here, and there's a camera out in the front of Herbie, and I got the car parts, and I'm driving back. Yeah, that's blind driving, they call that. Anyway, I doubled her driving Herbie in a lot of the different scenes. You don't believe me, do you?
You look a lot like Helen Hayes.
Did you? Well, I don't know about that.
So this connection that you had with Kurt Russell that lasted so long. I love so many of the on-set pictures that you guys have. My favorite picture of you and Kurt Russell is when you're dressed up like Snake Plissken and you're standing next to him, and you guys look exactly the same.
I don't look a damn thing like Kurt.
You look exactly.
Well, you know what doubling somebody is? It's you put the uniform on, and whether you got a wig on or whatever you got, just keep moving. Because boy, as long as you're moving, the camera does it. It's, you know what I'm saying? You can't stop. I did once in Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. There's a shot of Dean Jones and Don Knotts coming right at the camera in their car. Well, it was Don Knotts all right, but you can just plain as day see Dick Warlock is driving the car. I mean, it's as obvious as yeah.
That means I have to rent Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo right now.
No, you know.
No, I don't.
It's a good movie. I liked it. It was fun.
So I want to show something really quickly, okay? And because we're talking about the stunts that you've been doing and the fact that you doubled for Kurt Russell in everything. I mean, from the beginning to all the way up to Big Trouble.
Well, there was a couple. Overboard I didn't do because I was working for John Carpenter, and the other one. It was very similar. Captain Ron.
Oh, Captain Ron. Oh, he had an eye patch in that too.
I didn't do that one either.
Okay.
But all he did was fall in the water, and he did that himself. Anyway.
So
I got to tell you guys, there isn't anything I ever did for Kurt Russell, and this is truthful, that he couldn't do better than me. He's a very athletic guy. He was going to be a pro ball player, baseball player. He's a second baseman on a AAA team or something that his dad owned. And but that's the way I feel about Kurt. He was loyal to me. And anyway, I got into his contract as a result of his daddy. And when they hired him, they had to hire me.
Is that amazing?
Or give me an option of taking the job. So, yeah. Anyway.
Well, I want to play a clip. And you'll be able to see it on the screens.
Now, what is this?
This is from the film Used Cars.
Used Cars.
Yes. This is, goddamn right, Used Cars. In my opinion, Used Cars is the funniest movie ever made.
If it had left the language out, it would have been a great kids movie. But, and all that. Anyway.
Wow, okay. We won't curse.
Okay.
All right. I think it's the funniest movie ever made. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And you did the stunt double work for Kurt.
Yeah.
And how many people have seen Used Cars?
Yeah. Bits and pieces.
There is bits and pieces. You need to fix that immediately.
I know, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a sequence in the movie where they are bringing 250 used cars from in the desert to in the middle of the desert, are driving them like maniacs through the desert to get them to a used car lot in order to win this court case.
Using student drivers.
Using
wasn't it?
student drivers, that's right. Hey, Mr. Kirtner, what should I do if there's a man in the hood? Anyway, I'm not going to go into it. And by the way, the judge in that whole sequence, the judge is Al Lewis, which would be Grandpa Munster. He's the judge. Another reason why it's the funniest movie ever made. Anyway, so during that sequence, I want to show a bit of this. During that sequence where the 250 cars are driving like gangbusters through the desert, you doubled Kurt.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see this and then we'll talk a little bit about it afterwards. So everybody watch the screens here, and this is from Used Cars.
Heavy duty, brother! What? It's my car! Woo! Hey, thanks for dropping
Mr. Gardner, what am I supposed to do when someone's standing on the hood of my car?
Close in! Faster! Move it up closer!
Okay, there you are.
Remember what I was telling you about Kurt being so handy? That little thing he rolled off of the car and got back on? I thought that was great. I love that piece of business. That was him. He did that. He could do any of that stuff.
How much
You
of
know,
that stuff was you and how much of that was
Everything but that roll off.
everything with that roll?
Yeah, but the stuff on the white car, yeah.
And so the stuff on the car. So hitting the back of the car and falling like that.
The what?
When you jump onto the back of the car and kind of like fall,
Yeah.
that's you. And what happened?
I don't think I'm following him at all. Like anybody else.
There's a part where you kind of lose lose your you hit the back of the car and then you kind of slip down. Now was that planned or was that?
I don't remember slipping down.
Oh, okay. Well, it happened.
Oh. It's not the thing on the white car where you almost rolled off. That's not what you're talking about, are
No,
you?
there's a part where you hit the car and then don't worry about it.
Oh.
Yeah. But anyway, so tell me a little bit about what was it like working on that movie?
Well, let me tell you about what the guy that was the coordinator on the movie wanted to do. He wanted to put cables between each car and me run with cables on there. And I said, Terry, I can't do that. I want to jump it just open, just from one car to another. And he said, well, I'd have to see you rehearse this just to see if you can do it. I said, I can do it. So I want to see you do it. So he set some stuff up and we jumped from car to car. Well, he bought it. But if he'd had cables on there and one car would have hit a bump and jumped sideways, that would have dumped me right on the ground in front of all the other cars, which I thought was stupid. But anyway, so I didn't do it that way.
So the stunt coordinator on that. Now, had you worked with the stunt coordinator before on other stuff?
Yeah.
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 Did you disagree with him on other stuff too?
No.
Just on that?
Yeah.
What was there ever a stunt that somebody asked you to do on a set and you went, no?
Yes, I did an emergency episode, or was going to, and I went all the way up to San
Emergency.
Francisco. It was the series had finished, and they were trying to develop it again with a new cast. So they did 3 movies in a week using the new cast. And there was a sequence that was being done in San Francisco on the bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, where I was the victim. I had fallen and was hanging up there upside down. I did a number of emergency episodes, and I was always the guy laying that you couldn't see, but I'm going, And believe it or not, they would call me in a day or so later, and I'd have to go into the looping room, get on the microphone, and go, all over again, because they didn't hear it properly. I mean, it's strange. But anyway, this thing was about 110 feet up in the air. And when they called me on the phone and asked me to do it, I said, that's fine. It sounds good to me. And I got up there and I said, well, I don't see any cables. I don't see any safety. And he said, well, it'll be okay. You wait, the two stunt guys will come and rescue you. And I said, okay, I don't like that at all. And to make a long story short, they didn't have a ladder truck on a fire thing. If I was concerned about having an appendix attack, a heart attack, passing out something that would, that they couldn't get to me. So I said, I don't think I want to do that. And the other two stunt guys that were up there with me that were supposed to be the other victims, they said the same thing. So we didn't do it. So that's the one time that I.
The one time.
Yeah.
What's the craziest stunt you've ever done, or the proudest one? Is there one thing that you did on a show, or that you thought was?
Well, the one thing that surprised me was I was working on a show with Robert Wagner called Pearl 41, which ended up being, I think they call it Pearl now. You can catch it on TV. But I was doubling a guy. Excuse me.
Is somebody?
I'm on a boat traveling.
A glass of water. Somebody?
Traveling out to Nevada.
Thank you, buddy.
On it's laying kind of on its side, and I have to get to it. So I dive off into the water to swim there. Now the water's on fire at the time.
Oh my God.
And it's going pretty good. And but before this, I asked the special effects guy. I says, I've never done this particular thing before. Is there anything I should, how am I gonna? He said, just when you run out of breath, he said, just make a hole in the water and take a breath. What does fire exist on? Oxygen, right? So I make my hole in the water and go. There's no oxygen in there for me to breathe. So I've got from here to that wall over there to swim yet to get to the doggone ship. And I made it. The Lord was with me and covered me, but I thought I was gonna, that was it. Another time I was on Cat from Outer Space, at Disney, and we were doing a thing with a Stearman, a double-winged airplane, and it's flying, and a helicopter's chasing it, and we're chasing the helicopter and so on, and we turn upside down, and I fall out, and I'm hanging by my arms, and that was some of the business we did. But before we started, I asked Frank Tolman, the pilot, or he asked me, he said, are you going to wear a parachute? And I said, with a skin-tight jumpsuit, I'm going to wear a parachute. That was before they now make a thin one that you can put on under a business suit and you don't even notice it. But I said, no, I can't. He said, I won't wear one either. So that was fine. The only thing, it all worked out. But 6 months later, Frank had a heart attack and flew into a mountain and died. And I thought, that's kind of close to the time we did this. I could have went and hit, I could have passed out on that one.
How did your family feel about you being a
Doing
stuntman?
what?
How did your family feel about you being a stuntman? Were people like, I think you need to stop?
They're not impressed. The idiot chose it. That's what he does. He was like the old Disneyland days. They had an A ticket, B tickets. He bought his ticket. He took his ride. It is what it is. I had a great life, I got to tell you. And I would not be sitting here at all. I'd be pumping gas at Fedco or Costco or someplace because I'm dropped out of school at the end of the 10th grade. I'm not an educated guy as far as formal education. I got some street smarts, but because of you folks, I subsidize my pension with coming here, and I am deeply appreciated for everybody who's here to visit. I really am. Thank you very much.
I think I can speak for everybody when I say that we're appreciative of you. Just the career that you've had. The stuff that you've done is unbelievable. Let me just go through.
It's been fun.
Let me just go through some of the stuff that you did. A bunch of TV westerns, did kids movies. Soylent Green.
Oh yeah, I rode a motorcycle up in the stands at one stadium in L.A.
Okay. Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. That started on the street with a punch, and I got a close-up in that. It's a sideways close-up, but I come into the scene, and it's funny. It's a bit like that. I come into the scene and Tony Epper steps in and slugs me and knocks me out of the scene. And then the guy that's supposed to be like Gabby Hayes, he's got the whiskers and he's always drinking.
Yeah.
I go out, Tony goes out, and he's left there standing in the.
Oh,
that's the shot.
I know that shot. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
That's like what's the one with the goblin, the Green Goblin?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I did the original Spider-Man, and I'm with a whole bunch of guys up on a balcony when the Goblin comes in and throws this bomb thing,
Yeah.
and it collapses. I'm one of the gray heads they hired. That was one of my last jobs.
Yeah. I've got that here.
Anyway.
Let me fly through a few more because at Blazing Sails, Earthquake. The first movie in Sense Around.
Yeah, I ended up being the scuba diver that went down and checked the dam, if you remember the dam, and they said, "What's going on down there?" And I said, "Well, I'm checking for cracks, and I'll go on down to whatever it was, I don't remember." But
Mr. Majestic, one of my favorite Charles Bronson movies.
yeah, I was on Mr. Majestic for probably 4 or 5 weeks, and we did all over Colorado and everywhere with the mechanic. What's his
Bronson.
name? Huh?
Charles Bronson.
Yes.
Yeah. Jaws.
Jaws?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one. You guys heard of that movie, right?
Well, Jesse Wayne, another stunt guy who doubled Mickey Rooney for years, a little fella. So is Mickey Rooney.
No, I know. Mickey Rooney, and just the mere mention of Mickey Rooney makes me laugh for several reasons. But go ahead.
I don't know what that's all
I got a
about.
Mickey Rooney story I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Yeah, I do, and I'm not kidding. But
Really?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I'll tell you later.
Anyway, he was called to do the job. Well, Mickey's not a scuba diver, but he made up the story. He said, "I'm busy." Tom Joyner, the production manager on that movie, called him because he knew he knew Jesse pretty good. And so Jesse said, "Well, a friend of mine, Dick Warlock, he's a scuba diver. He'd probably be good for you." So that's how I got the job on Jaws.
Rollerball. James Cameron.
Rollerball. They didn't want me to do rollerball. He gave me this to drink, didn't he?
Yeah.
I can't open these anymore.
You got it?
Yeah.
The goddamn stunt man can't open a bottle of water.
I got the muscles of leg, and it's all gone to crap on me.
Rollerball. They didn't want you to do rollerball.
Rollerball. No, they didn't want me to do roller. Excuse me. I wasn't even invited on the interview at Northridge Roller Rink. But another stunt guy, the same.
Wait, I'm sorry. I have to go back to that. The interview at Northridge Roller Rink?
Well, can you skate? You got to know how to skate to get on rollerball.
Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense. Shit, that was just me. Okay, yeah, I'm an idiot.
So they had an interview for guys that could
All right.
skate.
I'm sorry, of course.
That's why I was there.
Yeah, I forgot.
Anyway, another stunt guy who I'll mention his name later on when he put me to sleep for 3 days, but on the same movie. But anyway, he said, "No, come on, you just come on and go." His name is Craig Baxley. Nice kid.
He directed movies. He went on directing.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He's directing movies now. Smart guy. No, seriously, he went into something that's a lot less painful on your body. But I went to the roller rink and I'm skating around having a good time, and most of the stunt guys that were to go pick didn't know what 4 wheels on the boots were. They had never skated before. Some of them as a kid maybe. But I'm having fun skating backwards because I had a lot of experience roller skating. I worked at a roller rink for a long time, sweeping floors and skating in between. As one of my first jobs. Anyway, another stunt guy that they really wanted to go was skating towards me as I was skating backwards with 2 guys on each side. Well, he fell and broke his hip. The stunt coordinator came to me and he said, "Listen, I don't really want to take you because I don't know you that well. But he said, I can see you skating and the producer's here and he wants to take you, so you're going to go. But I don't want you screaming like a sissy when you get hurt on this show because you are going to pay the price." So I went and I paid the price. I got hurt. I separated my shoulder. And one afternoon after lunch, I'm skating around the track and fooling around. I was skating backwards and Craig Baxley is laying on the track. I come up and I'm going to jump him. So when I jump, he sticks his foot up.
Oh, man.
That was on Monday afternoon, at noon, lunch. I woke up Wednesday evening in a German hospital. Knocked me just stupid. And I think I paid for it today. I honestly do. My doctor said, no, you're just born stupid. No, he didn't really say that.
I no longer like Craig Bass.
But anyway, yeah.
I don't like him anymore. I liked his movies, but I don't like him anymore. Okay.
He's a nice kid.
Yeah.
He really is.
All right, he's a jerk. Anyway, so really quickly before, because I want to, obviously we have to talk about Halloween too. But I just want to I'm just going to rip a bunch of titles here, just so people know some of the other stuff you worked on. You worked on Family Plot with Alfred Hitchcock. You worked on a silent movie with Mel Brooks, 1941 with Steven Spielberg. You worked on The Stuntman, a movie called The Stuntman with Peter O'Toole, Escape from New York. Ghost Story, where you doubled Fred Astaire.
Don't forget Spaceballs.
Spaceballs. The Thing, The Beast
What the hell are
Master,
you doing?
The Dead Zone, Christine, which we're celebrating the 40th anniversary this week. Silkwood, Body Double, you body
I
double.
didn't work on Silkwood.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, okay. Okay. I guess I assumed you
I
did
don't
because
like
Kurt
to lie
Russell's in
about
it.
those things.
The Deadpool, Tango and Cash,
Yes?
and Child's Play 2 and 3.
Yes.
Okay. And Casino.
Casino.
Right. So these are just some of the things that this guy has done. The people that he's worked with, the directors, the actors. Unbelievable, this guy. Now, let's talk really quickly, because a lot of people are here. We're here celebrating Halloween too. Leo Rossi, the great Leo Rossi is here.
Great, Leo Rossi.
Lance Guest is here.
And
And Halloween 2, how did you end up playing Michael Myers?
well, I met John and Deborah thanks to Kurt Russell, on Escape from New York. John had to put up with me because it was one that I accepted. When he called and said, you want this job? Yes, I'll take it. And he said, well, we need a stunt coordinator. And I'd never coordinated before. And he said, would you like the job? I said, yeah. So I took the job as a coordinator. And when that show finished, Deborah called me and said, we're doing a little movie and I want you to be a coordinator on this show. You interested? I said, yeah. And I went to have a meeting with her and I talked to her and she said, it's about this guy who wears a massive little nuts and so on and so forth. I said, have you seen Halloween? I said, no, I'm sorry. I haven't seen him. Or she said that. And I said, no. And she said, well, I'll get you a videotape and you can watch it. So I later on, after this whole event that I'm going to tell you about has, whatever, it ended. I don't blame you. You can laugh at me. I want to laugh. Anyway, she said, I want you to meet the director. I said, fine. We're down at the end of this hall. So as I'm going down the end of the hall, I passed two empty offices, and the third one, there was a desk and a chair. And that was it. And the mask was laying on the end of the desk. And she's told me about the guy in the mask. So I go, I get the mask and I put it on, and I walk to his doorway, and I just stand there and look at him. He says, who are you? I just kept looking at him. He said, who the hell are you? I started laughing. I took it off. I said, Wick Warlock, and I'm here to do coordinate for your show. And we had our little meeting, and as I left, I had the mask in my hand. I turned around, looked at him, I said, is there any reason I can't play this guy? And he looked me up and down, and he said, I don't care if Deborah doesn't care. So I hustled down over there, and I said to Deborah, he doesn't care if you don't care. She said, I don't care, so you got the job.
There it is, right there. This is Dick Warren. Dick, I can't.
Look what it's turned into.
What movie?
Dick, I can't even tell you what a pleasure it is to talk to you, and a legend that you are. And you represent, old Hollywood, and
Yeah.
No, you do, man. And there's nothing but respect from everybody in this room. Nothing but respect.
Thank you.
Visit his table. He's in the vendor room. And this is Dick Warlock.